front of a live studio audience.
Dude, you look good, man.
Thanks, buddy. You too.
Is that because you're quarantined now, right?
So I'm officially back up in Vancouver to finish the last 2 episodes of Supernatural, which is crazy. 15 years, and we had 2 left, and virus hit, so they pulled the plug and said, we'll let you know. And so they've just let us back up. I think we're the first Warner Brothers show back on its feet from the big pause. So, but in order to do so we had to fly to Vancouver, which is where we film. And the Canadian government has the Quarantine Act in place. So you have to, for any traveler flying up, you have to mandatory quarantine for 14 days. And that means like literally not leaving the threshold of your house. Like you cannot go outside for anything. So I'm here figuring out how to use Instacart and figuring out how to use Skip the Dishes and every other delivery service I've never really needed to use before.
All right, so this is crazy. So you do Supernatural for 14 and 3/4 or more years. This is the 15th season, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden hey, 2 episodes left. We're ready. We got the momentum. We're all tired, but we're emotional. Let's finish these 2. Boom. Go back to Texas, Jensen. And you're there for 5 months.
Yes.
Is it hard? And look, you've been doing this so long. Do you even get nervous in terms of like, hey, it's been 5 months. I got to come back and shoot the 2 most important episodes of the series, and I have a lot riding on it, or you don't take it like that?
I mean, I've got a lot of mixed emotions about it, and rightfully so. Moving into the final 2 episodes, it was we only did 20 episodes a season. I like to say episode 19 was kind of the season finale, and then episode 20 was the series finale. And but as you know, doing a 20 episode or a 22 episode or a 23 episode season like we've been doing for so many years, you get to those last couple of episodes and you're tuckered. I mean, you are spent. It's a marathon, and so usually what happens is you work your ass off for 9 months, and then the last couple episodes are the biggest, most emotional, most action-packed crescendo of the entire season. So it's like running a marathon, and then they expect you to sprint the last few miles. And so it's always pretty exhausting. And I do remember having the thought of like, I wish we could like regroup and
yeah,
like have a little break, get some, get refreshed before going to these. And I did not anticipate a 4.5 month refreshment. I'm good. I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go.
Go get yourself a facial, relax for a couple months, do some stretching.
So I was, in the beginning, I kind of looked at it at that. I was like, let's try to find the positive, the silver lining here. And it's that we took a pause before the last 2 episodes, and hopefully we can get this pandemic under control and we can get back to work, and we'll all be fresh and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We can knock out season 15 and the whole series. It lasted a lot longer than anticipated. Now it's like going to be so different,
Yeah.
They had to rewrite a bit of the last 2 episodes because of the quarantine and because of the pandemic and all that stuff. There's some things that we can't do that we were going to do.
Like you and Jared can't make out.
Well, no.
That was
we're hanging our hat on that. Yeah, that's happening. That's regardless. Corona or no Corona, we're making out.
We're making out. But there are some things that you can't do. There's like some things that are do you have to distance when you're on set?
So, well, yeah, I mean, just the protocol now, as I understand it, is, and this is another reason why it took so long to get us back up here and working. All the unions had to sign off on it. You had to get the DGA, and you had to get the SAG, and you had to get, the Transpo, and you had to get grips and electrics, and like everybody had to basically come to the table and sign off on these safety protocols. And I believe the way it's going to look is that, all of these different crew are going to have, there's going to be like little pods. So you're going to have like grips and electrics in one. You're going to have, camera and sound in another. You're going to have actors, hair, makeup, wardrobe in another. And they're not allowed to commingle. They have to stay separate, which, as you know, is going to be a very difficult thing, because
Yeah.
I can tell you how many times I'm sitting there on set rehearsing and I've got a grip or an electric, over my head tweaking a light, which is,
or someone's
fun.
fixing your mic, or someone's fixing your.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are all like, it's a very tightly interacting group of technicians. And so that's going to add, God knows how much time to production. They're also adding, I think, an additional 60 minutes to lunch. So it's hour and a half now, 90-minute lunches, just so the social distance in the line.
Well, what about the days? Doesn't that make the days longer?
Well, that makes the days longer, but here's what they did. Maybe they figured out that working past 11 hours, your immune system starts to deplete. So now they want 10-hour camera days.
Hang on. That's good.
Hang on. Silver lining for everybody who doesn't like to work 14 hours.
Who does?
But nobody does.
Nobody does.
I love they just.
So what is it like? When you get to set, do they have a protein shake for you? Maybe some egg yolks like Rocky had? What is it?
Yeah. So Jared usually always has this breakfast burrito that's the size of a football. And
I believe it.
It's a massive gut bomb. And it was funny, and he'll argue this with me till we're blue in the face, but he's like, I don't eat breakfast. And I'm like, you have a massive breakfast burrito, the size of your leg every morning. He's like, yeah, but I don't get up and eat. I eat that, when I get to work.
Because breakfast is right when you wake up,
I guess. And I'm like, technically breakfast is the first time you're eating since you woke up. You're breaking your fast.
But what about you? What do you get?
So I usually will stop at my coffee shop along the way to work, and I'll pick up like a coffee and a little breakfast sandwich, like a little, egg and cheese sandwich. And I'll eat that. And so when I get to work, I'm not tempted to go over to catering and order a giant football-sized burrito.
Yeah, good call. Yeah.
So I usually don't partake in breakfast at the studio in the morning. Sometimes they'll make me like a little breakfast scramble or something like that if I'm still hungry. But most part, I'll wait and I'll get a good lunch.
Right.
They'll make me like a platter with fruits and vegetables and some deli slices and some cheese and some hummus or whatever. They mix it up for me.
What's a no-no though? What do you know that if you eat it, you're going to be tired? It's going to put you in a crash. What do you stay away from throughout the day so you have the energy? What do you eat and what do you don't not eat?
I try to stay away from like the donuts, the heavy sugary stuff because that'll feel good for 5 minutes, and then you're going to be like, I'm going to be in my trailer sleeping for the next hour.
Right. What about steak? Steak's not good during the day, isn't it? Hard to digest.
Not really. I mean, if they during the at lunch, if they're making steaks and stuff, I'll have them cut me a few bites. But I'm not eating big meals throughout. I'm eating kind of like low portions consistently throughout the day.
Every hour or so. Carrots, fruits, little deli snack.
Yeah, little granola, just kind of just keeping myself sustained so that I'm not overeating or I'm not, crashing.
Have you ever had any kind of issue where you're like somebody ever came up to you? Because, women have had this for a very long time. And I'm sure guys have had it too, but where the producer comes up and goes, hey, Jen, so we noticed that you've either lost a little weight or you've gained too much weight. Have you ever had that?
I haven't. I've had, my makeup artist or wardrobe gal mention something like, you're looking a little skinny or whatever. I'll be like, yeah, just trying to lose a little around the middle. But it's never been to a point where they're like, they've never had to call me.
We're closing down. Go back to Texas for another 5 months, Jensen.
Yeah, if anything, I think Jared's probably fluctuated a little bit more than I have throughout the years. He's, depending on what supplements he's taking, I don't know what he's training for.
Do you think there was in the beginning when you first started? Because I'm sure you went through. I mean, when you're with each other for 15 years, you're not only your family. I mean, you really become family and friends. But like with that. I mean, I know, look, I've lost my shit on Welling before on Smallville. I've lost my shit with people because I hang out with them more than I have my own family. So was there ever a time where you're like those moments where, I like this guy. I don't like this guy. I really don't want to see this guy for the next few weeks. And I like this guy again. All right, he's better now. Do you guys go in an up and down thing, or is it just kind of like, I love him and he doesn't annoy the shit out of me, or you annoy the shit out of him?
I would say, I mean, certainly over 15 years, there is the I don't need to see him right now.
Sure.
I'm not knocking on his door the first thing in the morning. I know I'm going to see him in 10 minutes anyway.
Right. I'm sure he feels the same way.
I just sleep. I missed you. But I will say for the massive majority of our time, we are buddies hanging out. And I think it's been one of the greatest successes of the show is how well and how consistently we've gotten along both on and off set.
And Misha, are you tighter with one of them, or are they just both equally kind of your guys?
No, he kind of rounds. It's interesting. He adds this perfect like extra trifecta layer, and it's I think we all get along and all have, I've got my friendship with Misha, and Jared's got his friendship with Misha, and then Jared and I have our friendship, but then also we have this kind of triangular relationship as well that just works. It works on a public forum and it works in a private forum.
Who's got the shortest fuse on set? If someone's going to snap, who's going to be?
Oh, Jared.
Do you guys enjoy watching this? Like, do you look at each other like, well, there he goes?
I have literally fire started and lit his fuse so many times just to sit back and go.
What do you do? Is it things like, because Welling would do that to me, and he would also be
I know Welling would do that
fucking
to you.
asshole. He would sometimes he'd be in a pissy mood, and for some reason, if I came in and I was a pissy mood, it'd make him happy. He would suddenly get out of the bad mood. He'd love seeing me lose it. What are we doing? Why are we filming? They told me to come to set. I had to rush to set. I'm late. And then, I'll turn around. He's got his hand up to his face. He's like, fucking like, but
I would say, generally Jared and I's frustrations are very much in line. So if something is not working or something just seems off or it's frustrating,
right.
I will either quickly bring it to his attention or he'll quickly bring it to mine. And then depending on the severity of it, I also know where this could go. Either he's going to get wound up and heads are going to roll, or I'm going to diffuse the situation and cooler heads will prevail and we'll move past it. Very rarely do I get tuned up and have to, or do I get wound up and have to tune somebody up.
What's an incident where Jared would have probably been like, wow, Jensen's going off. Like Jensen he's even killed. He never loses it. What's the one moment I could see it? You remember it?
No, well, I'm trying to think. There's been a few over the years where he surprisingly just got to sit back and watch me go off. Although, he is the type and he's the good friend that he is. He's right there behind me to throw in the insults as well. So there have been a few. We've had some guard changes in certain positions over the years, and those people in their authoritative position would maybe treat people that we have a very close relationship with that are underneath their position, and we would start hearing that they were getting treated less than they should, and so we would then have to, put on our producer hats that we actually don't own, and and go set some people straight on the kind of behavior that is expected on this set. And
what's that noise? What's that noise?
Let me get rid of it.
Yeah, it's fucking killing me. Usually I don't hear anything, so I don't even know how I had it.
That was my dishwasher telling me that the dishes are dry.
Okay.
Like,
well, you can tell you once.
Yeah, tell me once. I don't need to know.
It would have been perfect timing. You're like, that's enough, dishwasher. So someone is not getting treated as fairly because someone of a higher importance, whatever the hell, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? They're just getting that. So you guys step in and sort of, and you probably hate that. You're like, shit, now we have to, because it takes a lot of energy and you have to deal with something. You don't want to deal with it. Now you got to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I think, Jared and I have worked very hard. We know that tone on set is a very important thing. And you've been around, you've been on enough sets to know that toxic sets are just exhausting to be on. It's not fun. The work's not fun. Everybody's walking on eggshells, and the egos are flying off the hand. It's like I don't want to be a part of. I don't want to work in that place.
Toxic, yeah, you don't want that.
So we know that we have a heavy hand in setting the tone on this set, and he and I try to really do justice to that. And everybody should be treated fairly. Best idea wins, no matter if it comes from the producer, director, or the PA who's sweeping up the broken glass. I've had my on-set carpenter lean into my ear and be like, it'd be funny, and I'm like, I'm doing that. So there's a very communal kind of feeling that we have on our set. And if somebody is having a bad day, or if somebody tries to wreck that tone and be a shithead, then we're usually the ones that call them out and handle the situation.
Right. Do you think after 5 months off, in your head, you're sort of like 3 months in, you're like, Daniil, your wife, you know this.
Yeah,
do you ever,
I'm aware. I know her.
do you ever go, I could do another season? I mean,
yeah.
All these months off, I'm going to call the producers and let's go. Let's get another one going.
That's the longest break that I've had in 14 years from the show.
That's what I'm saying.
By the way, longer than the writer's strike in season 3.
Wow.
Which was what, 2008?
I remember that. Yeah. Yep. Oh, it was 2008.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, it's also the longest I've ever gone without traveling anywhere. It's the longest I've ever spent. It's the longest I've ever spent consecutively with
your family.
With my family consecutively.
Whoa. So
yeah, I mean, I'm certainly ready to go and refreshed and ready to get back to work. But the ship has already sailed on this being the last season. Jared's already got another show lined up. I've got a few stokers in the fire, and so we're going to knock this out, try to do it justice. I've always thought that there is a possibility of 5 years down the road getting the call and saying, hey, let's do a little short order action for a streaming network and bring them back for 6 episodes.
That's going to happen. The show's too famous not to happen.
Right.
I mean, they'd be silly. I mean, it's not like you guys are going to age that much in 5 years. I mean, it's been 10 years since I did Smallville, but right. I'm a little older, but Lex Luthor can be old.
You can still do it.
I can still do it. I'm older. Like I'll shave, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, you guys could do that. So it's always there. It's timeless. It's something that you guys could do 25 years from now. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, can you believe we're still doing this shit? Yeah, we are. Yeah.
And I do feel like this isn't like the long goodbye right now. I feel like this is let's hang this in the closet for now, and we'll dust her off, down the road a bit.
Have you ever seen Jared cry?
Like for real?
Yeah, like really crying.
Oh yeah.
You've seen him emotional.
Oh yeah.
Has he seen you emotional?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that. You know how my mind goes. I'm like, I wonder if they've ever seen each other cry. Like, I've never seen Welling cry. I mean, I've seen Welling a little emotional, but this was post Smallville, and it was kind of
I didn't think Welling was emotional. I thought he was. I thought he was literally built in a lab of old actor parts.
Well, he'd like to hear that, and he'd probably laugh at that. He would laugh. I've seen him like a little emotional when it came to there was some personal stuff years ago. I'm not going to talk about that, but there was like a moment, I saw him like a little vulnerable and like, I mean, he's like he's like tough on the outside. What a Tommy boy. To say with the M&Ms, what do you say? It's like, they're really hard on the outside, but really, whatever, it's like, shut up, Richard. But it's funny because, and Bruce Campbell was talking about.
I love that you were talking to Bruce Campbell. By the way, fun fact for you.
Yeah.
They went to him, and I think only him, to come back to play our father, because in the pilot episode, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who we all know and love, played our dad.
Right.
But he was playing our dad when my character was 6 years old. right? Because
Right.
Jeff's only like 10, 11 years older than I
Right.
am. So he was playing the dad to young Dean and Sam. So when at the end of the pilot, we go looking for dad because he's gone missing, but we haven't seen what present day dad looks like. So they actually went out to Bruce Campbell to play present day dad.
Wow.
And for whatever reason they couldn't, and I think that was the only person that they wanted.
Could you imagine going around a corner, dad, and he turns around and goes, looks at him and goes, groovy.
Groovy.
He was the best.
Hey kid, you bring my boomstick. So he was, but ultimately they couldn't make it happen, whether it was schedule or whatever. And so they kind of threw their hands in the air. They're like, well, maybe we can just gray Jeff up and have him come back and play an older version of himself. And so ultimately that's what they did. And thank goodness, because there was, you had the continuity, and plus Jeff just, he's so good and knocked it out of the park. Old Bruce almost made it to the set of Supernatural.
That would have been nice. Let me ask you something. With 5 months with your wife and kids, longer than you ever had with them, really, seriously?
Not uninterrupted, not consecutively, and that isolated.
Is that hard? Were you like all of a sudden, because that's the first time you've dealt with it, or was it? I mean, look, you could say, of course not. I love Denise. I love my kids. It's not hard. It's easy.
No, I think. I don't know anybody, and if they said that, I wouldn't believe them. That they said, this was a walk in the park. This was such a lovely experience. It was. I would say it was. There were some beautiful memories made, but it was tough. It was a massive adjustment, both emotionally, physically, and mentally, and all of the above. And it was. But luckily, she and I have, we've got a solid partnership and friendship and relationship that we just kind of, got into a groove. I got home and immediately the kids were not going to school, so now we were teaching them, taking turns teaching them. And,
ooh, that's what terrifies me.
Yeah, so I would say there were some challenging aspects to it, but looking back on it, it will be looked back on fondly for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when you teach the kids school, how old do you have? Twins?
So I've got my twins are 3.5, and then my oldest is just turned 7. So she'll be going into second grade, or would be going into second grade. So we're finishing up first grade. So stuff that that we can handle. Reading and writing and math and that kind of stuff, like your basics.
All those things scare me. All of them.
Well, and here's where I feel, I feel bad for the parents that have 9th graders or, 8th, 9th, 10th. Like, I don't remember that, like algebra and trig and like all that stuff. Like I haven't done that stuff since then.
No. So I think they'd have a better shot if we both were studying at the same time for this. I think they'd have a better shot at passing. Honestly,
right.
The same material.
The social aspect of the younger children, I think, is really what they're missing out on the most. But as far as the educational aspects of it, the curriculum that the schools are sending home are pretty easy to follow and deliver from our standpoint, anyway. But yeah, the older kids, I would hate to have to deal with that for sure.
All right, well, this isn't the last thing. This is only 30 minutes, for God's sakes. We're almost there. I don't like to do long interviews. Obviously, I love you. I've known you for a long time. Yeah. You're a great guy, but you're also on a show, and you're a character that people just love. They all around the world. It's just and that's a rare thing. And I know some people, some actors, we all do it. We'll think, we got to prove that we could do something else. We've got to do this. We've got to do this. I'm like, wait a minute. You're on one of the biggest shows ever. What do you have to prove? What do you, Jensen Ackles? So do you ever look like, I got to prove myself, I got to write, I got to do this? Or do you do things really because you just fucking love those things?
Right. Yeah. How many lotteries do you have to win to be considered success?
Right. Are you pretty content, or do you want to do more things because you just love acting, you love creating, you love producing, and you want to keep doing that? Or is it more like a balance, like, I got to stay in the limelight, got to stay in this, got to be present, got to be relevant? Do you feel any of that pressure?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people asking me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What's next? What do you want to do? And I think I'd be deaf and blind and insensitive if I didn't, if that didn't at least affect me in some way, or if I wasn't like, oh yeah, maybe I should come up with a game plan. But I've always been a, let's just see where the wind takes me. Let's roll the punches and see what comes down the. I mean, I'm not going to sit around and wait. Like I will be active and pursuing things that interest me, but I don't. I try not to allow myself to feel the pressure that makes because you can tell, especially with actors, when they're desperate.
Oh yeah,
I can do that. Yeah, I don't care if there's a certain.
Yeah, I think there's a certain odor that comes with that.
Yeah,
and it's, if you can stay away from that, you can be content and still stay confident and still push, the ball down the road. That I think things happen for you. But like you said, I don't feel like I need to reinvent myself. I've spent 15 years honing a certain type of character and honing the skills that are needed to do that and tell story. So why not parlay that into the next situation? Somebody was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to do romantic comedies? Are you going to try to do something completely out of the box? Are you going to try to do, and sure, that all sounds fun, but I also know that I enjoy playing the type of character that is Dean Winchester, because I've done it for 15 years, and I don't want to destroy that. I want his legacy to be great. I want the show's legacy to be great. I've enjoyed playing that character. Right. So why wouldn't I want to play a similar character on a different stage?
Right.
So, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, maybe something comes along and, I get a call to go meet Chuck Lorre, and then all of a sudden I'm on a half hour. I'm kind of, I don't say, oh, this is my lane, I'm going to stay in it. But I do also understand that the audience that has been built over the past 15 years is used to seeing me in a certain light, and I'm happy to stay in that light as long as it stays lit.
See, that's it's awesome because I could just tell you're so comfortable with yourself and you're so honest. I mean, obviously since I met you, how old were we? I was like 25, 26. You were like 22,
24. Yeah. 23.
Yeah. It's just a good attitude to have. And I think it's something that, as I get older, I just think, as long as, again, caveat, if I have a family and I have to make money and I have to pay, which I do, I still have to pay bills. I don't have a family. I still have to pay for my mom's shit. But, I don't care what I do. I'll work at Wendy's. I don't give a shit. I will work to make money for my family. But I am very lucky, and I'm not, I have a nice house, and as long as I'm comfortable, I'm good, and I'm not going to take jobs, nor I think would anybody, just to work. I want to work because I really love something, and if I'm able to do that, then I'm very grateful that if I can do those things. So all I say to you is you could do whatever you want, and there's no doubt that you could be on a show tomorrow. If you took meetings with networks, I know he's on a hit show. He's got a huge following. It's a done deal. So I would just say, man, just enjoy it and get the right thing. Don't jump on something else that you might, because you got lucky because you love this series and it's a good series, but you might not get that lucky again. We don't always get that lucky again. Remember, win the lottery twice. And I'm not giving you advice. I'm just saying, because you've had a more successful career than I am. All I'm saying is hey, if you don't need to go do something, don't do it because you're like, it could be. No, man, because the next thing, just love it. Just love it and say, you know what, I'm going to have some fun. That's what
and that's, I think there's a lot of pressure, on me. Maybe it's from me and from, the people in my camp and stuff, of what that transition piece is going to be coming out of Supernatural, and I do think that probably has a little bit more pressure on it than maybe what comes next down the line. So I do want to be thoughtful about my next move. just from a strategic standpoint, because I want that to be able to set me up for something moving forward.
Right.
Whether it's a movie or a short order streaming network thing or a guest arc on an existing program or whatever it might be. But I think it should be something that that is that the audience, it's not too drastic. It's not, all of a sudden he's
a serial killer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Or in some like crazy period piece and is in drag.
Mr. Winchester.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever it might be. But by the way, that might be fun to do down the road.
Right.
But I think it's important to kind of stay in the ballpark of where I've been really happy and successful for the past nearly 2 decades, and then transition, in a good way, so that the audience is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I want to see him do that.
You know who did that pretty well was Nathan Fillion. He sort of did.
Yeah, I know Fillion pretty well, and I've asked him about that. And he did navigate that very, very well. He's certainly someone to emulate.
The only thing I would say is, like, I know that a big part of this too is agents can be very influential in terms of like, hey man, this is the time to strike. This is what we need. I know, but you got this producer, because remember, they see paychecks, they get a chunk. So and I've done it. I've been like, oh, okay, yeah, I should probably do that. Why did I do that? I didn't really want to do that, but I guess I made him happy and I made my business manager happy. So I guess everybody's happy, but now I have to go to work and I don't know if I really want to.
And I'm not that happy.
I'm not that happy. But maybe you're just not happy.
All of a sudden, I just started with this new project that I really want to do, and I'm not available anymore.
Yeah, just so I'm not saying anything. I just
no. It is true. You gotta be smart. And you gotta navigate all that. You gotta understand that at the end of the day, you gotta do something that that lights your fire.
You came out with an album.
I did, as did you.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I think that's the new midlife crisis go-to project now these days.
You know what, though? I will say this. My reason for doing it is I was terrified. And with that terrifying feeling, I just loved it so much that I was scared, but I was like, I kept thinking, I don't have the chops. I'm not a great singer. It's always just this, but do you love it? So go do it. Who cares? Why do you care?
That's bullshit. You sound great. Like
thank you.
I've heard you sing before. I've heard you play before. Listening to your album, I was like, son of a bitch.
Well, that's how I feel about you. And I'm like, we say midlife crisis, we go actor or singing, but you know what? If you love it, and you know what, you have all I'm saying is I did it. And I didn't do it because it was just one of those, maybe it is midlife crisis. It was like one of those things like, why haven't you done this? Oh, you're a little too old now. Just fucking do it. Do it for you. And I did it, and I was so grateful. Aren't you grateful? I mean, you've done albums and things like that, but this is like...
I've never written and constructed one from the tip to stern.
Right, this is the first one, because you've been on other albums, like I have, like songs and things like that, and you're like, and you sound great. And I'm like, he should do an album. So you did an album, and how hard was it?
I mean, it was not that hard at all. It was, and by that I mean, yeah, it took time. It took, you had to commit to stuff, but it was really fun.
You have a natural voice, though. Like listen, I'm saying you can really sing. When I heard you singing in front of many people at live shows and things, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. It always scared me. I mean, Jensen just has that. I don't know. You've always had a great voice, and so I knew it would be easier for you. To me, to get comfortable with something I've never had a lesson, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But what's your favorite song on the album?
Oh, gosh. Hang on. I think I've got it right here.
Well, I got it right here. I'm going to play a little Sounds of Sunday if you don't. Someday.
Look at that. Boom.
Dude, Radio Company.
Where'd you come up with that? Was it just a kind of a...
It was... There's one of my favorite coffee shops in Austin, Texas, is called Radio Coffee. And so I'm sure that like subliminally influenced it, but also Steve Carlson, who I made the album with, he and I were talking like, what kind of music we want to do, what kind of, because we're our influences are across the board. You know, he likes to say it's from Motown to Metallica, and so we're like, well, we just want stuff that is good music to keep you company. You know, like when you flip on the radio, it's just good company music.
Ooh, radio company. Funny
enough, one of my favorite songs is actually not even one I sing. It Off My Mind is just, from a production standpoint, I think just a really cool tune. That's one of Steve's songs. But also the one I like to sing the most, I think, would probably be Let Me Be. Although Drowning's pretty cool.
See, I couldn't do this. The voice range here for you. Come on. I mean, good Lord, son. I mean, how'd you not blow your vocal cords out?
It was funny. We actually recorded vocals and the band, all of it at one time.
That's the way to do it, because it's the energy. When I have to sing solo after the band's recorded and they're all staring at me, that's hard.
I found that the most difficult from a process standpoint. That was the most difficult, was singing in a vocal booth with headphones on and a microphone staring at you, and that's it.
I would get so frustrated.
Like when I go on we do these conventions, these supernatural conventions, I'll go out and I'll play with, the band Loud and Swain is Rob Benedict's band, and they come out and they do a whole concert Sunday night or Saturday night, and they'll have some of the actors that want to come up and do. It's kind of like, the last waltz, they'll come up and they'll sing a tune or whatever. And
right.
It allowed me to come up and sing a few times with them. And it's a totally different, there's so much energy.
Yep.
Your voice is like, the adrenaline is pumping, and it's like your voice is doing things that it probably wouldn't normally do. And that experience, I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just take that right into a recording studio. No.
Yeah. It was just amazing just to be in the studio I'd never been in. And like Jason Manns, who we love, I'm sitting there playing the song I wrote, and he goes, "Hey, what's that, Rosie?" I go, "It's just this little love song I wrote." He goes, "Get in the studio. Let's plug him in. Let's do that song." We did 2 takes, and that was like, I think my favorite song in the album. It was just impromptu.
Right. We had a couple like that, that are just kind of like, it's just easy.
Yeah, you're not trying too hard.
It's really easy. And
come on.
That got on the show, actually. They used that on Supernatural.
Come on, dude. You sound like you're like from the freaking Van Zant from like Leonard Skinner and shit. They always say actors can't. There's some actors that can fucking play music. There's a lot of actors that all of a sudden they just do stuff and you're just like, I don't know what the fuck. But hey, they loved it.
Well, I also think there's a stigma too that actors shouldn't cross over to singing.
Yeah, fuck why?
And I don't know why that is, because you look at singers and they cross over to acting all the time.
Yeah.
Or try to, I mean, Timberlake's done a great job. There's people that have had very lucrative careers in the music industry. You look at what Rihanna did, that Ocean's 8 with Sandy Bullock and all that. I mean, nobody bats an eye at that.
Well, how about guys and actors in films, the crossover? Now you could act in movies, you could act in TV, you could do commercials, you could be the guy who won the Oscar for the drum thing. J.K. Simmons is doing those commercials.
Doing Farmers Insurance.
He wins an Oscar. No one gives a shit. Just be good at what you do or enjoy what you're doing. No one cares anymore.
But I do feel like that's the last kind of stigma that's that people are a little hung up on is actors being able to do, because they think it's like a vanity thing. It's like, oh, they just did, it's like, oh, it's like back in the day it was, every actor had to be able to sing and dance.
That's right.
I don't plan on starting dance lessons anytime soon, but
I don't know. I bet you could dance.
It's funny is
if you want
this year, no joke. You look this up after we get off, but I get a call from our showrunner, Andrew Dabb, and he's like, "Hey, Ackles, can you dance?" And they've thrown any of the weird shit that they come up with in the writer's room usually falls in my lap. And they usually like to make Dean do it. So I'm like, well, what kind of dance? And they're like, like Fred Astaire. I'm like, no, Andrew, I've never had a lesson. I mean,
like singing in the rain shit.
Yeah, I'm like, I probably keep beat, and he's like, well, would you mind taking a couple of tap dance lessons and see if we can't? He's like, I've got this whole dream sequence, and I want you to go have a dream sequence where you're, like a singing in the rain type thing. And I'm like, sure, why not? Let's try it. So I did like 3 hours of lessons, of tap dancing lessons, and ended up doing like this whole, just like maybe a minute and a half, minute 45 second routine, tap dance routine on the show.
And how exciting! Are you so glad you did it?
It was really. My thing is I get really like competitive with myself, so like I wasn't getting it at first, and I think the poor camera guys and stuff, because it was a huge, camera suite that was on a crane and,
right.
A big jib arm. And so it was a big, and we did the whole thing. It wasn't like we cut it up into segments. We kind of we tried to do the entire thing in like one swooping shot. And I think I must have done it like 18 different takes. I was like, no, I missed that one step. Let's do it again.
I think camera guys are probably, they're used to us going, no, one more. No, come on, let's go again. They might get annoyed, but you got to just whatever, if you have any say.
I'm usually like that. Like I'm I pride myself on knocking it out in one take for most things. But this, I was like, I just, it was out of my comfort zone, and I wasn't gonna settle. And so I kept dancing. I mean, I must have burned 10,000 calories that afternoon.
And that's when your makeup artist said, "You're looking a little skinny, Jensen."
Yeah.
I just tap danced.
Yeah, a tap dancing woman.
Good Lord. They're hard on the outside, but it's fun.
I never read nor watched any of the Harry Potters ever. And I got so late in the game that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until the kids are old enough to do that. And I tried to watch the first one this past year with my oldest, who was 6 at the time. And it was too soon. So I literally left the room for 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. And that was when Voldemort came out. And then next thing I know, she's just like standing in the bathroom with me. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? She's like, there's a really scary man on the TV right now. I'm like, okay. And I came out and I'm like, good Lord, you're right. That has no face. Turned it off. So I'm excited to start that whenever that time is. But I you know what her favorite 2 movies are right now? Princess Bride.
Of course.
And the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder.
And that's creepy.
Yeah, I know. But man, Gene Wilder's so good.
There's nobody better in that movie. I mean, that movie, his performance. What does he say? I always forget it. At the very end, you messed with my fizzy lifty drinks, which now need to be cleaned and sterilized. Good day, sir. You get nothing. And he says, you're a mean man, Wonka. And then Charlie comes over, and Charlie puts down the everlasting gobstopper. And what does he say? And so shines a good deed in a weary world. That's just like, and it's on his back.
Yeah.
All right, little Lisa, what's your favorite scene you filmed on Smallville? Probably when you and I were naked, tied up in some dungeon or something.
Probably, yeah. Oh, God, I remember that. That was terrible. Favorite scene, I tell you, my least favorite scenes was anything having to do with football. And I love football, but I mean, the fact that I was the junior coach, it was so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a little bizarre.
It was bizarre. Favorite scene, I
Kissing Kristen, come on.
Yeah, well, just go with kissing. I mean, that's the obvious choice.
Danielle, you won't get mad. This was years ago. He was a child. Child, Danielle. She won't listen to this anyway. She doesn't listen to you, does she?
No.
Well, tell her we're talking about her. Maisha, with Supernatural being over, have any interesting projects been brought to you? Can you hint on any? Is there anything that maybe you can't really talk about, that's something that's brewing?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. Why say something if it doesn't happen? Like, whatever happened to that 10 years from now? Like, I don't know.
That's one thing I learned early on is don't talk about auditions ever.
Oh, no. My mom still asks me if I got Private Ryan. I'm like, Mom, it's a classic now.
Have you told her yes?
Yes, Mom, I'm the sniper.
Yeah, there I am, right there.
Right there. Can't see me. Dad, I'm one of those bodies on the beach. Samantha K., what was your favorite part about starting your own family brewery? How is that doing with current world events? Good question.
Free beer and a continuous supply of beer. I can go to the brewery anytime I want and get beer.
Now, can you send that beer, or you can't send that?
No, because there's a lot of alcohol board law. We can only, if we distribute outside a certain radius, then we have to like sign with a distribution company, and that's that's like next level stuff.
So you don't make cans; you just glasses of beer, mugs of beer.
We make cans. And we sell it to local grocery stores and liquor stores and markets and stuff. So you can buy. We have 3 flagship flavors that you can buy at 52 different locations in Central Texas.
What if you just sent me as a gift, and then I Venmo'd you, and then I could just have like a classic edition of a Jensen Ackles beer can? Yeah,
I'd have to. I mean, look, off the record, anybody could probably grab a 6-pack off the shelf and then wrap it up and FedEx it to you. That's probably doable. Okay.
All right, you guys know who you are. Live in Texas. Let's get over there.
Somebody send Mike some beer.
Yeah. Nancy D., what's the one role you would drop everything to play, or the one person you would drop everything to work with? Good question, gosh. Nancy.
I would say there's some iconic characters that have really shaped kind of who the style that I enjoy playing and the characters and stuff. You think of Indiana Jones, and you think of John McClane, and you think of
but a role like that, or working with Spielberg, Zemeckis, you drop everything to work with those guys, right?
Oh gosh, yeah, and even like Chris Nolan and like some of these really innovative like creative directors now. That would be a game changer for
sure. Chris F., what props from the show do you keep, or do you want to keep when the show ends? Come on, you gotta have something.
Yeah, I'm not keeping anything.
But what's one that you would like?
Warner Brothers, I'm not keeping anything, I promise.
The car.
But one that I might be some of the iconic ones, like
the car,
an Angel Blade, or maybe some of the non-lethal weapons that we used. But I will say that the big one is one that I can share that I am taking home with me, and that was sanctioned by Warner Brothers. I'm getting the car.
What? Have you not told anybody about that?
I may have mentioned it, but
that's big news.
That's big news,
dude. That's incredible. Are you gonna drive it? Are you gonna keep it in your garage and just keep it there, for all time's sake?
So my plan as of now is when we wrap up the show here in a few weeks, they're gonna hand me the keys, and I'm gonna put that sucker on a car carrier, ship her home to Texas. And I've got a couple of folks that I'm talking to.
Was that in your contract? Did you say, I want that, Mike? It was. What season did you do it?
I've been talking about that for 2 years now. And they finally added that to my contract this last season.
Is there a double?
There is. And I think they offered it to Jared. I don't know if he's going to take it, because it's kind of beat up, and it's like,
I'll take it. I'll take the Supernatural.
I know, exactly. I mean, he might take it. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but the hero car,
right.
the one that we always drive.
Dude, that's so cool, man.
That was coming home with me, and I'm gonna clean her up, but not change anything. Like, but I'm gonna need to add an air conditioning unit because we live in Texas. I'm probably gonna get some new speakers and a radio system in there that actually works.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away by this.
But everything else, I'm going to leave the creak in the doors, the splits in the seats. It's all going to be the same.
Can I ask for one thing? Can I ask for one thing if it's still around?
What?
I think you'll laugh at this, and you'll be like, you know what? I bet they still have them. I want you to sign it with a silver Sharpie for me, and I'm going to keep them right there on my table. Your tap shoes from your tap shoes for the Singing in the Rain shit. I want the black tap shoes, because you had to wear tap shoes. I want them. Is that possible?
I had tap shoes. Yeah, I can see where those are. Yeah,
that would be huge.
There's a lot of wardrobe stuff that I they'll have a huge wardrobe sale at some point. I don't know when, but there's a lot of stuff that was built for me. There was like specific. We did a Western episode where we get sent back to like the 1800s, and we have to find Samuel Colt because he's got a gun the bullets that we've got to get. So we get sent back in time, and of course, my character goes full, Dodge City, Wyatt Earp style, and they hand make me this duster and these full on like period style.
So those will probably be for sale.
And but they, it's all molded to me, so I might have to. That one might disappear.
Might disappear. I still want those tap shoes. Last two questions quickly. Leanne P., what lessons has this quarantine taught you? And Jerry W., who inspires you and why?
What lessons has the quarantine taught me? That patience is a tremendous virtue, and that that depression is avoidable if you work at it.
Are you saying, okay, that's good. Now let me ask you about that. So have you found yourself a little depressed, a little anxious, and what have you done to sort of alleviate that?
Sure. So, I mean, there were days when you just kind of like, and this is when I was back home, not here. This is kind of a different situation because I'm in a 14-day quarantine with a huge light at the end of the tunnel that I know in now 10 days from now, I'm back at work. So that's a motivating factor not to get, bored or disheartened. But, 2 months ago, sitting at home, with the kids and hearing all the bad news on the news and the record setting, spreading viruses. And it's like a freaking zombie apocalypse on the horizon. There were days and it's just like, I wander around. I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? Like I have no purpose. And then that's when you take inventory. You're like, no. There's 3 little kids over there that give you a lot of purpose, pal. So buck up and find something to do. Go teach that kid, some math, or go teach that kid, or go throw that kid onto the bed and play with them and just make memories. Go make dinner for the kids, set them up in the movie room, and then have a nice date with your wife in the kitchen.
It's amazing though when you get caught up, and it's just not. It's not that you're not grateful. It's not that you're not. It's that you get overwhelmed and you don't know why, and you sort of have this anxious feeling, and you feel like this sense of dread, and you forget all the things around you that you could still do or still, And if you just get caught too much, I've done it, man. You sit back there, and I'm alone here, but I go, you know what? My grandmother needs me. I'm going to call my grandmother and I'm going to talk to her for an hour on FaceTime. And I'm going to, you start to do things, and the busier you get, the way you keep yourself busy, it helps. But look, we're all human. It's like on this show, I talk about anxiety. I'm like, Stephen Amell came on here. He had an anxiety attack, and then he came back and talked about it. It's like, that's what we need more in the world, to let everybody know that, fuck, man. Just because, your favorite character on Supernatural, Dean here, is a successful Hollywood star and has money and a great family and all these things, and doesn't mean he doesn't doesn't mean he doesn't get anxious and lonely and depressed and like what's going on and talk, So I think it's important. It's cool.
There's a very powerful scene in a very powerful movie that I thought about a lot over quarantine. Remember the movie The Hurt Locker? Jerry Renner?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have this soldier who comes back from, in between deployments, and there's this scene where he's walking down the grocery aisle, and it's the cereal aisle. And he just turns and looks at this just wall of cereal, and he just stares at it, because he's just come from basically fearing for his life around every corner. Disarming bombs, being shot at, eating and drinking, slop and, just in the shit over in Iraq. And then he comes home stateside, and it's just like, you've got 47 different types of cereal at your disposal, anything you want. And it's just this wall of what's the word I'm looking for?
Options or
of
possibility.
Opulence, it's like all this, and that was powerful for me, because it was like, it's almost like he didn't feel And the movie resonates, I think, because he feels like he's got purpose over there. But when he comes home, it's like, and I think a lot of probably veterans feel that. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel that in quarantine. It's like when you're working, when you have worth, when you have purpose, when you have motivation to get up and you do something. I haven't set my alarm clock in 4 months. You know, my alarm clock used to be set every day to get up because I had people waiting for me on set. I had to get up. I had to learn my lines. I had to read the next script. I had to figure out what I was doing. I had to go to stunt rehearsal. I had to go get, a prosthetic fitting. I had, you're doing things, you're moving, you're motivated, you're working, you have purpose. And when you strip all that away and now all of a sudden it's like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? It's a hard ocean to navigate.
Yeah.
But I think that's when you lean into, you find purpose and you look around you and you take inventory and you're like, you know what, I'm going to call my grandmother.
Yeah.
You know what, I'm going to go out, I'm going to take my kids outside and shoot some basketball with them. Or I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to find some reason to get motivated to keep moving to the next hour. So, we deal a lot with, there's a lot in the fandom that are beautifully vocal about their struggles with mental instability or with depression or whatever it might be. And I've met a lot of these people that fight it on a daily basis. And I don't envy that, but I'm encouraged and inspired by how they continually do that on a daily basis. And so if I've felt like I've tasted just a fraction of that throughout the quarantine, I would say that what I've learned from that is that you've got to find a way to stay motivated and find purpose in every day and every moment. And that kind of gets you to the next moment.
Yeah. And I also say that, just thank you for coming on today and you being vulnerable and just talking about real stuff. Like always, it just being real. It helped. Someone out there is listening and saying, hey, I relate, or I get it, or that's nice to hear and see what you're doing and what helps you. And, it sounds like we all need routine, whether you're doing a TV show or whether you're watching kids or, if you're watching kids, which is probably the hardest job in the world at home, a stay-home mom or dad, or, it's like, hey, wake up, do something for yourself real quick before the kids wake up, exercise, find the time for you or you're going to implode. There's got to be that time for you, or it doesn't matter whether you have kids or a wife, or you got to get right. I would assume I'm single, but that
was one thing that Danielle and I do is we it's not even talked about anymore. I know when she needs to go and, go out in the garage and work out, or, I need to get on the phone and talk to an adult. And we just it's just a handoff.
Right.
It's like an unspoken handoff. Like I got the kids. You go do what you need to do right now.
Yeah. Well, dude, I love it, man. I love it. I love talking to you. I hope you'll come on at least once a year. Chitty chit. Just got to catch up. You're just a great guy. I've known you for a long time.
You too, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Do you want to say anything as in closing? I'm sure you said it, but just to all the fans out there, to everybody who's watched you for all these years, and anything at all. I'm sure you've already said this, but
I mean, look, the fact that this show has stayed on as long as it has is because people have not just found us, but have stuck with us. And, that is all the encouragement that I need to keep working as hard as I possibly can to provide the product, the entertainment that I can for people like all of you. And it is a gift that you have given me, and it is a gift that I intend to cherish and to utilize properly. I had a really great Zoom call with Senator Cory Booker yesterday. And, he's apparently such a Supernatural fan. He's watched the entire series twice, and the second time he watched it was during his presidential campaign. And but he gave me some really great piece of advice. He's like, look, when I want to turn my brain off, I get to turn you guys on and just escape into the world of Supernatural.
Wow.
He's like, that was a gift for me. And so the fact that, that he even says that is a gift right back. So that ebb and flow is alive and well. And I thank the audience that has been giving me that for 15 years now. And I hope to translate that right into the next project, whatever that may be.
By the way, I think that's beautiful. And I think that, all I can think of is like some of your fans